Now I would like to invite Professor Azmi Sharom to talk about civil society role in democratization. Professor Azmi Sharom is the Associate Professor of the University of Malaya Law Faculty. He obtained his PhD in School of Oriental and African Studies, London, and the area of expertise is in environmental law and conflict law.
Civil society and democracy, well, of course, I think the two are absolutely interrelated and linked, and it's very important for us to understand what that link is. But first, let me give you my definition of what democracy is. To me, democracy fundamentally is the right to choose our leaders meaningfully. Not the way that things have been happening in our country for the past 50 years, where we do not have enough information, we do not have proper debate or access to the thoughts of everybody, just Barisan Nasional. So when I say to choose our leaders, I qualify that by with the word meaningfully. And of course, this also means we have the right to criticize them, and ultimately the right to be the masters of our own destiny. In other words, to me, democracy is the only system of governance that respects our individual humanity. Democracy is freedom, and the price of freedom is eternal vigilance, according to Thomas Jefferson. Civil society plays a huge role in keeping that vigil against tyranny, against oppression. And it's important that we keep that vigilance constant, because tyranny, oppression, these things will not occur with a great explosion. The despot will not come riding over the hill with his armies of evil minions like Lord of the Rings. If this were true, then it would be so much easier to fight them. Instead, the enemies of freedom work slowly, methodically, and with subtlety. They chip away at our rights so slowly and carefully that before long, we do not even realize that they are gone. And the funny thing is, of course, they do this under the pretext, under the guise of protecting us. They take away our rights for our own good. That is what they say. Now, forgive me if I'm being a little bit dramatic here, but I wish to read a little passage from a play called A Man for All Seasons. This is a play about Sir Thomas More, who stood up against the tyranny of Henry VIII. Yes, very long time ago. Written by Robert Bolt. In this scene, Thomas More is speaking to his son-in-law, William Roper. And they're discussing the benefits of law. And Roper is very angry at Thomas More, because Thomas had said that even the devil deserves the protection of the law. And this is what, this is the scene. So Roper begins and he says, "So now you would give the devil benefit of the law?" And Sir Thomas More replies, "Yes. What would you do? Cut a great road through the law to get after the devil? I cut down every law in England to do that." And Thomas More replies, "Oh, and when the last law was down, and the devil turned round on you, where would you hide, Roper? The laws all being flat. This country's planted thick with laws from coast to coast. Man's laws, not God's. And if you cut them down, and you're just the man to do it, do you really think you could stand in the winds that blow then? Oh yes, I'd give the devil benefit of law for my own safety's sake." And this is what I fear. I fear we have chipped away our freedoms, they've chipped away our laws, and now there's nothing left. And we stand exposed to their draconian ways, because they have done this carefully, slowly, over 50 years. Ladies and gentlemen, democratization Well, civil society's role in this is, well, for me, it's basically to keep an eye on the government. Make sure that they're behaving themselves. Not every 5 years, but constantly. Democracy is not an event that happens once every 4 or 5 years, and politics does not belong in the realms of the politician. As said by Bung Pramadya Anantatua, the Indonesian author, as long as we live in a society, as long as there is power, we will all be political animals. Another important thing, another important role that civil society plays is to express our views, as it is our right to do so, and to make sure that our opinions are heard and that they matter. This is useful not only to lay our concerns out in the open, but also to act as a safety valve. Another importance of civil society, one which I think is not often spoken about, is the sense of empowerment that it gives people. A sense that we can take control of our own destiny, that we have a say, that we have a voice. And grouping together is one of the ways which we can do this best, rather than standing alone. This is an important aspect of civil society, and one, I think, which we must develop in this country, because in Malaysia, we suffer what I have described as the Hang Tuah complex. What is the Hang Tuah complex? The Hang Tuah complex is where the people of Malaysia are constantly looking for some hero to come riding down on his horse and save all of us. I don't care who this Hang Tuah might be. His name might be Mahathir, it might be Anwar, alright? But we must forget the Hang Tuah. Hang Tuah is not going to come. It's up to us to change things if we want to change it. And through civil society, this is one way which we can. Today, as we stand here, we are at a strange and awkward period in our society and our history. Because whereas before activism is usually pointed to one direction, today there are two directions. Neutrality and principle demands that we look at issues and not at personality. And yet, the bigger picture is that, for me at least, we desperately need to establish a two-party system. So, doing what I do, for example, which is teaching and writing, there is a tendency to be a little bit kind to the Pakatan group. Not because I love them so much, but because I'm thinking of the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is, I believe we need a proper two-party system. Now, let's look at it this way. Even the mere threat of the emergence of a two-party system has rattled the government so much that they're now at least pretending to listen to what the citizens of this country want. Look at what they've been doing recently. The One Malaysia concept, for example, okay, it's a copycat thing, lah. And it's full of nothing. But would it have even been invented if not for the threat that they might lose power? I don't think so. The revamping of the Biro Tata Negara, you know, where you're supposed to teach patriotism. How can you teach somebody feeling? If I could teach people feeling, there'll be lots of girls out there who I would have taught to love me a long time ago.